We're going to do 2 ways of making a viewfinder today. If you can't do one of these for whatever reason, I'm sure you could get creative and figure out another way to do it. I'm just going to show you 2 simple methods. So I'm going to make one out of cardboard here, and right now I got a 9 by 12 inch piece of cardboard. Let's see, this was 3 inches and this was 3 inches. So the reason I chose 9 by 12 is because I had one that was that big. It was actually a little bigger. I cut it down to 9 by 12 so it could theoretically fit in a sketchbook if I want to carry this around with me. So it's handy if my sketchbook and my viewfinder are the same size. So that's why I kind of chose the 9 by 12. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make a box inside it that's proportional to my paper that I'm using. So if my sketchbook is 9 by 12, I want it to be proportional to that. So we can figure out if, let's see if I have a spare piece of paper. We can figure out if numbers are proportional because they kind of divide down to the same thing. So if we have 9 by 12 as a ratio, we can reduce that to 3 by 4. Okay? Wait, is that right? Yeah. So I actually ended up reducing them both by half. So I've got one that's 4.5 by 6. Okay? And I think like 4 and 9 by 12, 4 by 5 by 6 is a pretty good size for a window. You don't want your window to be too tiny, but you also don't want it to be too big because it's going to be hard to like focus in on stuff. So this is like a pretty good sized viewfinder, and I would kind of recommend something around this size. So I figured out how much margin I needed by subtracting 6 for this side, or this dimension, by or 12 by 6. And I got 6, and I divide that in 2, so I know there's a 3-inch margin on each side. And then this side is 9, I subtract 4.5, and then I divide that by 2, and there's a 2.25 inch margin on each side. So you just need to figure that out if you want it to be in the middle, otherwise it's not super important. And then I drew out the window, and then I drew in the crossbars and the diagonals, which aren't going to be important for this viewfinder I'm making, but for the other one they are. So if you're making one on the clear plastic, you'd do the same thing we did here, but just on a scrap piece of paper. And then what you can do is, I'm going to turn it just so it fits in my workspace. So I want to find the spot where I want my window to be, and I can take a marker. I'm hoping this marker is going to work on this plastic. If it doesn't, we'll have to figure something else out. Take a marker and trace this figure that I have. And then after I get this traced on, if I want to cut off some of the extra, make it a little smaller, make it a little flatter, I can definitely do that. Oops, that was not very good. Yeah, you try to stay on the lines. That was me showing you how to do it wrong, just in case. Just so you don't make that mistake. Alright, so now we've got a little viewfinder that we can use to sight our pictures when we're working outside or inside from life. Okay? So same idea here, except I'm going to actually cut a little window. So I've got a cutting pad here. You want to make sure you're cutting on an appropriate surface and not on your parents' nice table, like my daughter has done before. I'm going to be using a box cutter, but you can definitely use scissors and just cut in from the side and then tape it shut. It might be easier. Okay, so I'm just going to cut around the outside of the box here. There's a breakfast burrito for you in the microwave. Okay. Have you eaten it?
Yeah.
You did already?
Yeah.
Okay. see if this pops out. I'm probably going to end up having to cut it twice. I don't know, scissors might even be easier. This is kind of a pain in the butt. Probably should be cutting this and not punching it, but that's alright. Alright, so now we've got a nice little viewfinder that's proportional to our paper, which is a great start, but we kind of want to get those crossbars in there. So, you can use a number of things for the crossbars. If you had some wire that you could get straight, that would be like awesome for it. You can use thread or string, but that's kind of hard to keep tight, like it kind of gets slack. So what I'm using is just the same kind of cardboard box that I cut this out of, and I cut really thin strips. So I'm going to use that. This is going to kind of block my view a little bit, but I'm not really using the viewfinder for the whole drawing, just for the initial phase. So eventually I won't be using it anymore. And so it doesn't really matter that part of it's obscured. So obviously the thinner you can cut these, the better. It is a little tricky though. Let's see. Let's see what the thinnest ones I have are. That one's super thin. This one down a little bit. I'm actually going to measure where I'm supposed to put these, mark them. Try to make it as accurate as I can. It's 4.5, 2 1/4. Two and a quarter. So if I didn't explain it, I'm measuring where these halfway points are going to be just to make sure everything's accurate. I'm not off anywhere. Okay, there we go. so after I've gotten these taped down, probably run a strip of tape all the way around to make it look a little cleaner. I don't know why. Alright, so now I've got a viewfinder and I can hold this up with one hand while I'm drawing. I can adjust how big an area I'm looking at by moving it closer or farther away from my face, and I can use it to kind of sight my drawings as I'm doing them. I just need to make sure I'm always using an area that's proportional to my viewfinder here. So, write that on here so I know. So I always know how big it is. Alright, what? 4.5 by 6 or 3, 2, 4. Alright, so there we go.